Welcome. This is All Minus One Quick Shots. Folks, today there's actually some news, some real news with stuff going on in the world. Like H.R. 1, the new bill just passed, at least in the House, to change your voting rights. Because those pesky Republicans require IDs and don't like the blanketed mail-in voting. So therefore, we have to fix this. So that's a good thing, right? That we can still have very unsecure elections because other countries, most every other nation ever in the world requires some sort of validation or authentication for voting, yet the United States has no standard across the board, nor do I necessarily want it to, because it is an issue of states' rights. But the federal government doesn't really care about that. They continue to encroach upon those rights all of the time. Now, I haven't gone through every ounce of the bill, but it looks like it's your standard stuff. If you vote against it, if you don't like it, you're a racist bigot, because we all know that minorities are not able to get IDs, at least according to the Democrats. And therefore, you want to restrict the access of people who are less fortunate. Well, maybe. I don't care for everyone to vote. Honestly, I only want people who know what they're talking about to vote. And I know that's probably a little bit elitist, but I'm not asking for any sort of test at the polls or elsewhere. What I want is people to be responsible in themselves and say, maybe I'm not informed enough to go vote. See, what we do instead is we tell everybody it is their right and their duty to vote, regardless of how stupid you are, and therefore let me whisper in your ear sweet nothings to vote for my candidate that will provide for you. Speaking of which, Mr. President Joe Biden, speaking of providing for everyone, he was cut off the other day when speaking with the Democrat caucus. Nancy Pelosi was up on screen. He's like, oh, do you got any questions for me? And then they cut him right off because, folks, the sunsetting of the nation is falling in line with the sunsetting of our president. This is the reason why we have no State of the Union address. Perhaps he will eventually get to it, but I think they know that it'll be largely an embarrassment, seeing that the State of the Union is usually an hour and a half, 2 hour long event, and a lot of people watch it. And unlike town halls on CNN, Joe can't take little commercial breaks and do whatever. And there's going to be whatever reactions there may be, of course, by those members in the GOP who would sit in that joint session. As many of them crossed their arms and scoffed at Trump, the opposite will happen, of course, this time with the Republicans doing such a thing to Joe Biden. On top of that, there are talks to take away the sole authority of Joe Biden's nuclear power. That is his sole authority to press that button and launch nukes away from him because he cannot quite be trusted. Most likely, it seems as if Kamala Harris would take up that duty, or as well, perhaps a joint chief or something of the sort as well. We'll see what they come up with. But with that as well, there is also the idea that they may strip the war powers from Joe Biden. This is a joint effort between McConnell and the Democrats to get the war powers away from the president. Now, this is actually a very good thing. So thank the Lord for Joe Biden, I suppose, because the war powers were never meant to be in the hands of the president. The president directs the military as the commander-in-chief once the Congress, that is the people, decide that they want to go to war. We don't do that anymore. We haven't done that since World War II. Every war we've been in has been completely unauthorized. There has been no constitutional authority. And what Congress basically does, they go, well, we hand over our constitutional responsibility to the president. And no, the Constitution does not afford for that. But they will make the excuse that they will do such, or they can do such a thing. Another issue, of course, is the 25th Amendment issue, because the 25th Amendment was put in after Kennedy, but we knew we had an issue with FDR as well. Basically, his wife Eleanor ran the government for a while because FDR was just an invalid. He just was not functional. And what it looks like the Democrats were doing back in the fall time was planning to remove Joe Biden. Of course, everyone has speculated about this. The fact that they just had a caucus meeting and they sat together with Biden and they basically cut him off and cut the signal, and he was like, "Oh, if you got any more questions for me, go ahead. And he literally is like, "I don't know what we're doing." Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm sure you don't because you're a puppet, and a lot of people voted for him, and of course there are other reasons why he won that I'm not allowed to say on certain platforms. But make no mistake, it might have not been massive, but it was enough to push him over the edge. In any case, so these are the things that are going on. The federal government, the Democrats are changing your votes, how we can vote, why we should vote, make it more accessible, which is basically code for easier to hack. I want voting to be hard. I would rather not be able to vote because I didn't have the proper identification or whatever when I showed up to the polls. I would rather that happen to me and not get my vote in than let just anyone willy-nilly vote who might be able to go to various precincts and scam the system. I'd rather the system to be locked down tight. Of course, if there was widespread, rejection from the polls, then we might have to revamp the system then. But that's not the issue. The issue is that anyone can vote, even potentially, if they are no longer alive on this earth. Some cats and dogs, I think, voted. We don't know. There's always a little bit of something like that goes on, guys. And there's no reason why it shouldn't be squared away with modern technology. And then we have the removal of Joe Biden's nuclear capabilities, or potential removal. We have the joint effort by Democrats and Republicans to get rid of Joe Biden's war powers, which again is actually a good thing because it doesn't mean that the Congress won't start wars or anything like that, but they definitely know. They definitely saw that there was a lot of backlash for the Syria bombing. There's no doubt about that. We have no State of the Union in sight. And, of course, back in the fall, we had the discussion of the 25th Amendment that wasn't about Trump, according to Nancy Pelosi. And let me tell you a secret. In case they didn't win, it was totally about Trump. It was also totally about Biden. It was a double whammy. They knew, though, that it was going to be difficult to get Trump out because they would have to have Mike Pence sign off on that, and that wasn't likely to happen. But I guarantee you, Kamala, she will sign off on Biden being incompetent because she is all about that power. And she will get her name in the history books as the first female president ever. And not only that, but a POC, which stands for person of color, but I've always thought that to mean a piece of something else. So I don't know, but I do know that she is going to be horrible. She barely won anything in her run for the election. She is very much about the system. We can look at her record as the state's attorney or attorney general, whatever in the world she was. She's obviously highly progressive, but not really. It's all corporatism and a bunch of establishment nonsense. In any case, it's not going to be good, folks. It's not going to be good. So that's kind of the whole deal, man. As the president's sunsetting, so is the nation. And I don't see much in line of the next 3.5 years, the next 4 years, being a fun ride. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming down the pike. However, I do believe there will be legal pushbacks. There will be some change. Of course, we have midterm elections coming up. Every 2 years we get elections, guys. So that's good. So by the end of this year, they'll start campaigning for that for sure. And midterms might change some things with the Congress and slow some stuff down. That is the hopeful outlook. But in the end, just realize that this is the slow demise of the nation. These folks don't listen to anyone but their corporate and NGO globalist interests. And I don't know. That's about it, guys. That's all I got. You leave some comments down there, like, share, subscribe, the thing, as Joe Biden is fond of saying. Oh, and come on, man. Give me a like. Anyways, guys, this has been All Minus One Quick Shots, and I wish you all well.